Has anyone ever played Overlord? A game where you get to be the villain, never utter a singular word, use slave labor by willing minions to conquer, enslave, and mass murder heroes so evil you wonder why you're called the Overlord. So welcome to Jeff Bezos' Amazon Warehouse Simulator, where you are the evil tyrant. This is a parody of essentially every modern fantasy trope that you can think of, from dwarves to elves to even the evil minions you possess, because why shouldn't Team You Sauron and your McNugget combo meal minions commit war crime after war crime? And remember, it's not a war crime if you win. Also, it's not a war crime if this is the enemy. Because how is this a hero? How am I the villain? So without further ado, let's enjoy Overlord. Now, if I haven't been apparent enough yet, you take on the role of the Overlord, a silent tyrant who has been resurrected after his predecessor was defeated. The intriguing twist on the twist, though, is that the world is not a paradise. It's not glorious, it's not beautiful. The heroes won, and the world is actually shittier than it was before. There's suffering and chaos and corruption and excess because of these so-called heroes. And your goal isn't just to be evil. That would be step 1 of the plan. Because step 2 is to subjugate literally everything. And the game presents the world and the story with pure and unfiltered satire, parodying every common fantasy trope you could think of, even the ones you don't think of. The contrast of darkness that is continuously shown, it makes the game's charm feel so much more alive and fun. It prevents the game from being overly serious. In fact, Overlord is almost never serious. It's the opposite of a game like Tyranny from Obsidian, which handles serious themes like conquest and domination in a serious, dark, and gritty manner. That's a dark, gritty game that will never get a sequel. This is a goofy mockery of fantasy that will also never get a sequel. Because big evil corporation buys IPs, buries it in vault, and deletes your favorite franchise. Fuck you, EA. And these heroes that you face off against are an exaggerated representation of the 7 deadly sins. No, not the shitty anime. Which brings me to the story. And the story of Overlord begins with you waking up in a carriage at the border of Skyrim. Begins with your resurrection in the basement of a ruined Overlord's tower, guided by the elderly and wise minion Gnarl. And your minion advisor teaches you how to play the game, which involves learning how to use your minions, whose key power is Russian military doctrine. I have more soldiers than you have bullets. Gnarl teaches you the game by guiding you to beat the ever-living shit out of the court jester who takes his beating beautifully. Your minions are like shitty marauders, pillaging and looting, arming themselves and just being a net negative on every single location you visit. And with the tutorial out of the way, you quickly learn that your former empire has been divided amongst the corrupt heroes who have betrayed their noble virtues. You begin to start reconquering all the lands that once belonged to your predecessor and systematically dismantle all the power structures in place, freeing the oppressed, or as I like to lovingly call it, placed under new, more effective, better management. Nothing is guaranteed except death and taxes, and I will guarantee your death if you do not pay me taxes. Starve, but pay your taxes. So we start with Mallow Hills, home to the village of Spree, and Spree is being tormented by Halfling. And as I mentioned earlier, each hero represents a particular sin or vice. Melvin Underbelly, the Halfling Overlord, is quite literally gluttony incarnate. His fat, jiggly, pulsating body is pure horror to witness. It's like witnessing Cthulhu and losing your mind. His fat ass consumes everything. Fruits, crops, meats. Heck, he even eats peasants. And his once well-off Halfling kingdom is now a shithole of excess and laziness, stacking and pillaging every farm as far as the eye can see, to feed his fatness to the point of bursting. And burst he does. Jiggling and pulsating are terms I've used a lot, but on God, it's seared into my mind. And to showcase his gluttony, part of the Halfling arc is kitchens. It's a whole level with horrifying chefs who belong in Little Nightmares, the video game. And it's here that we recover the red minions, and Melvin was using these poor minions like a chocolate company uses the children of West Africa to feed the unending hunger of Western civilization, or in this case, Halfling civilization. So we rescue our little red minions whose powers of fire allow them to defeat enemies from a distance, extinguish flames, and allow us to unlock new areas by extinguishing flames. I won't lie though, part of me kind of thinks that blue minions, the actual water minions, should be capable of extinguishing fires, and they're not. Only red minions. The limitations of the times, I guess. So nonetheless, we defeat Melvin in one of the most torturous scenes I have ever witnessed in a video game. which thankfully now makes us the Lord of Spree, a village full of peasants. Now, these peasants are not super loyal, but like no peasant really is. They're just there to pay taxes because what's the difference between one overlord and another overlord? You're an overlord at the end of the day. Getting taxes is one thing, but I'd be a terrible overlord if I had no harem. I apologize, that's Overlord 2. In Overlord Raising Hell, you get one mistress, which takes us to Castle Spree, where after dealing with the invaders, I clear out the destroyed castle and save Rose, who delightfully chooses to become my mistress. He's also how most incels will describe Chad picks up women. So with my beautiful woman by my side, it's time to finish conquering the world, which then takes us into Evernight Forest. Oberon, the elven hero, is a pure, absolute mockery of fantasy elves. Every stereotype of every elf Oberon and his race exhibits. His sin is sloth, the desire to rest, which has turned the world into a waking nightmare. Well, Evernight Forest. The elves themselves are like pitiful, stupid, and honestly very annoying. They're also on the brink of extinction, which, depending on certain fan bases, is the net positive. Regardless of defeat Oberon, we had to unlock the green and blue minions. Now, unlocking the green minions was done inside the Elven Forest, and I must say having minions with the ability to obliterate piss clouds was truly heaven sent, which let me unlock more areas. And the green minions are also really good at stealth and shanking big monsters in the back like 25 roadmen from London. But unlocking the blues took us away from Evernight and off towards Heaven's Peak. And once there we discovered that a zombie plague is ravaging the land, and a refugee camp full of poor peasants are terrified of the plague. This world is fucking cursed. These heroes are terrible. But I ignore the peasants because A, not my peasants yet. B, not my taxes yet. And C, not my problem yet. So I found my blue minions, which were lovely until I realized that aside from their ability to swim and resurrect dead minions, they're really not that useful. Like, I barely used them because I thought they were fucking useless. They are not useless, but they died to a stiff breeze and an offensive joke. Nonetheless, I then made my way back to Oberon, dealt with his problematic lazy ass, and conquered Evernight and the Elves, because there is no freedom in this world, just slavery with better terms and conditions. My terms and conditions. And you don't get a choice but to sign it. You can read the whole contract, but you're signing it on penalty of death otherwise. Now, upon returning to Heaven's Peak, we end up learning that this is where Sir William the Paladin has become corrupted by his lust, summoning, yes, I'm reading this correctly, a succubus queen who unleashed the zombie plague, which killed off a large portion of the peasant population. Now, typically, you're meant to kill Sir William second, but I killed Oberon second. It doesn't even matter anyways. I murder my way through the sewers, and I see a Silent Order priest doing the creep in the sewer. I recover a new forge for better gear and armor. I deal with some crips. Deal with some priests of the Silent Order who dare not be loyal to me. So I enforce a new religious peace upon them. Me. I am God and you'll worship me. I also want to give a shout out to my favorite spell, Hollow Purple by Gojo, which lets me snap my fingers and annihilate dozens of enemies at once. We then kill the succubus queen, because if I can't have her, nobody can. What do you mean, Sir William? You get a big, bountiful succubi queen for yourself? Nah, I'm the Overlord. She ain't my mistress, she's nobody's mistress. I then burst through into Heaven's Keep Castle, kill Sir William, claim the lands of Heaven Peak for my Dark Empire. But this is the dark, problematic portion of the game. It's here that I had to make the hardest choice I've ever made in a video game. And I've been gaming for over 25 years. I meet Velvet, the sister of Rose. And Velvet is the icon of sex appeal and sultriness that is meant to play up on the arrogant, loving companion to the cruel Overlord. She's your evil queen. And I have to choose between Rose or Velvet. The game devs hurt me deeply here. Thankfully, they learned for the sequel, but in Overlord Raising Hell, I didn't have a choice. Rose or Velvet. In fact, I considered uninstalling the game. It was truly a gut-wrenching decision. But the gut-wrenching pain of having to sit with Rose because I'm a loyal man was dealt with by Rose because she taught me how to wield my sword correctly. And we shook the world. No, that's not even a joke. Quite literally, the Dark Tower was shaking. I don't know what the fuck we did in that bedroom. Good job, I guess. Which then takes us to the realm of the dwarves. And this is like if Tolkien's dwarves were rapist conquerors like Tolkien's orcs. So yeah. The Dwarven King Goldo embodies greed through and through, hoarding vast riches to the point of nothingness. He desires gold so heavily that he betrays his ally Oberon and the Elves, invades their lands, enslaves the people, and almost drives the Elves to extinction in the pursuit of more gold. And like, I'm not gonna lie to you, with heroes like this, who needs villains? These guys are far worse than any Overlord has any right to be. Like, all I did was force people to pay taxes. These heroes are genuine monsters. And I will say that Goldo Stupid Machine Rollo gave me a smidgen of cancer, stage 1 to be precise. But I did defeat him, but I also needed to go and farm Life Force afterwards, which brings me to resource management. You have to collect Life Force to summon new minions, which is obtained by defeating enemies or harvesting certain creatures. You also have to sacrifice minions to upgrade gear. You can also farm Life Force very easily in the arena, which is in the basement of your tower, which is rather useful as I have a bad habit of losing a lot of minions to stupid things. But we moved on to the final region, Tan. That's right, it's coarse, it's rough, and it gets everywhere. And much like Tatooine traumatized Anakin, these fucking sandworms traumatized me, due to their rather piss-poor controls of keyboard and mouse in Overlord. For example, this is where I got stage 4 cancer. Sandworms not working properly, or my minions not working properly. I lost a lot of fucking minions, and I apologize for cursing so much. I specifically lost a lot of brown minions. They are the best minions in the game, in my opinion, excelling in melee combat, and they were the backbone of my army. And I know I said I lost a lot, but I almost lost 1,000 total brown minions throughout the course of the game. And as I mentioned controls earlier, the sweeping mechanic. That shit bugged my game out multiple times, requiring me to hit the escape button to get to the menu to reset the camera and character control back over to me. And the sweeping mechanic is where you drag your minions back and forth across the world, picking up objects, turning levers and things of that nature, requiring some fine-tuned control. But it was a bit buggy on mouse and keyboard. If you're able, just play the game on controller. Don't do mouse and keyboard, this shit was built for controller. Nonetheless, sandworms are cancer, but I dealt with them, even killed a few sandworms with explosive bugs and then defeated Jewel, the hero of Envy. She was stealing just to take from other people, not for any real reason. If you had it, she wanted it. And I learned from the best, so I captured her. What did I want? Her, because she had knowledge that I needed. So I put her in a cell and just kept her. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know what happens to her at the end of the game. She gets captured and just disappears forever. I'm pretty sure she got stuffed in a cell, a minion ate the key and she just lost her time. Just gone. Which leads us to the Wrath of Khan. Khan is the 6th hero and is the one who fell to Wrath. A barbarian brute and idiot whose anger and rage have made him lose his cool through and through. And Khan lost it because I stole his jewel. Man, I'm slaying it with these puns. So anyways, he sacks Spree and half of Heaven's Peak, and nobody sacks land and territory that belongs to me. So I killed him. There's only room for one dumbass conqueror. That's me. Which brings us to the final and absolute last boss in that kind of the expansion, the Wizard. And the Wizard is actually, dun dun dun, the second Overlord. I'm the third Overlord. That's a plot twist you didn't see coming. But yeah, essentially when the heroes defeated him initially, I sacrificed myself to kill the second Overlord. I was the 8th hero. And yes, I know, plot twist upon plot twist. So the second Overlord purged the wizard's soul from his body and took him over, and then slowly over the years corrupted the heroes, making them become the things they were once opposite of. The wizard or the second Overlord is the sin of pride. He just continuously monologues and rants and rants. I'm gonna be honest, if you're a villain, don't monologue. It's cringe. It's 2025, you're still monologuing. Just shut up and kill the heroes. Monologuing leads to your defeat, which I did defeat him. I killed him because I'm not a hero anymore. I'm now the Overlord. The 7 heroes, well 6 because the wizard got purged, they betrayed me and left me to die. So fuck you guys. And I am definitely not relinquishing my Dark Empire. And that's the best part about Overlord. It's that every hero is a caricature that serves to further the game's satirical take on traditional fantasy heroes. The Overlord himself remains largely silent, your actions speaking louder than your words. The NPC voice acting is hilariously exaggerated, leading into the game's satire. I'm just gonna play a snippet from the peasants discovering heaven. And every single character, from the cowardly peasants to the arrogant heroes, delivers their lines in a manner that just makes the game feel like hilarious to consume and enjoy. Sure, it's kind of obvious, the play on things is right there in front of your eyes, but it's still really good. And not just the heroes and NPCs, but every location. From peasant farms to elven forests to human castles to dwarven mines to shithole deserts and back and forth. Heck, once you conquer the known world, then you get to go and counter-invade Hell, because Hell tries to invade your realm, but you invade Hell instead. Defeat the heroes again, because one ass beating wasn't enough. And Hell's kind of like a shittier New Game Plus, which is the most apt description I have of it. So you enter the Abyss, and you fight the Forgotten God, and conquer the Underworld, becoming God of the Abyss, which is a rather fitting end to the game. Because Overlord is and was always about showcasing the generic nature of fantasy. Ambivalent and pointless the stories and arcs have been so many books and media and things of that nature. Elves being mystical and having bad arcs due to our nature and way. Dwarves being mountainous beer-drinking incels. Humans being absolutely ungodly, idiotic, and prone to stupidity because it said hello. You literally start and end the game the exact same way. Locked away and sealed till we meet again. And that's why it's great. You're taking the piss out of the entire fantasy genre, and it's doing it in the most generic way possible and making it satisfying. So overall though, Overlord is an amazing game that's full of charm, unique gameplay and storytelling, and a rather fun gameplay loop and mechanical system. Sadly though, it is lost in the vault of dead IPs that EA own. This game and franchise could have likely given Witcher a run for its money, but its previous owner, Codemasters, declined to allow Triumph Studio, the guys who made Overlord 1 and 2, who wanted to make Overlord 3 so they could make Overlord Fellowship of Evil, a shitty knockoff MOBA wannabe that not a singular person asked for, and then it tanked the franchise and almost obliterated it. There's still a fan base now, but we're likely not going to see an Overlord 3 again. Perhaps EA will revive this franchise and give it the life it deserves after almost 10 years in anguish, but based on Dragon Age Veilguard and the Battlefield series, I really highly doubt that. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe so you can dislike my next video as well. Thank you all, Evernight out. Peace.